Town Hall. Consider and act upon a proposal to discontinue a portion of Depot Hill Road, approximately 13,522 square feet, identified as former Depot Hill Road, ROW. Jeffrey A. Manville, First Selectman, Board of Selectmen, George Bertram, Justin Betty, Jason Bushbaum, Jennifer Naylor, and Mike Roseman. Dated at Southbury, Connecticut, this 13th day of June 2018.
I'd like to ask the resolution to be read by the First Selectman.
Resolved that this town meeting authorizes the Southbury Board of Selectmen, Town Hall, to hold a town meeting to act on the discontinuance of a portion of Depot Hill Road designated with the notation roadway to be discontinued area equaling 13,522 square feet plus or minus 0.3104 acres plus or minus on a map entitled Data Accumulation Plan depicting former roadway to be discontinued, prepared for Oak Tree Southbury LLC MBL 29-56-8E Depot Hill Road, Southbury, Connecticut, dated 4/04/17, revised to 11/27/17, scale 1 inch to 30 feet, prepared by Stuart Summers Company LLC. The map, which portion is no longer a public conveyance or necessity.
I have a second.
I'll second.
I'd like to know if anybody would like to speak for or against the motion. And if so, can you please identify yourself with your address?
I'm Gabby Taggart. I live at 239 Old Property Road, and I represent the petitioners. I think in the last line, it's public convenience or necessity that we're asking you to do. This is a little strip of roadway that was left over when the IBM exit was put in on 84. It no longer goes anywhere, and if the discontinuance takes place, each of the properties on each side will own it, and it can be put to useful purpose and can be used for tax-paying purposes. So we would hope that it would be approved. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Anyone else? No more. If there's no other people who'd like to speak, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstain.
Abstain. Jennifer Naylor abstains.
No, being no further business, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Second.
I'll say.
And the meeting is over at 7:05.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting Thursday, June 21st, 2018 to order at 7:05. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under our presentation, we are having the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief Organization here to give a brief to the board about their work and what they've been accomplished. Tim's here to speak.
It is my privilege to meet with you and share with you what we've been able to accomplish in our work here. My name is Tim Buhner, and I am the State Director for Disaster Relief for New England. So anytime a disaster happens in New England, it gets on my radar. And it's typically I or one of our volunteers that shows up into communities that have been affected very quickly to try and see how we might come along and assist. And that's what we did some 3 and 4 days after the event of this tornado in May. So let me give you a little bit of background. Our operations center has been set up at Christ the Redeemer Church right here in Southbury. And Pastor Dr. Brian Sims is here with us this evening. He has been wonderful opening up his church. He is one of our sister churches here in New England. And they have literally turned this place into a major operations center. We have had rotations, as it says here on the screen, of 10 days cruise from throughout New England, as well as 14 other Southern Baptist state conventions. What that means in regular language is 13 other states. So they have come from far and wide. Because of the way that we network, we are able to deploy well-equipped and well-trained volunteers to come alongside of homeowners and assist in relief and recovery. So, as it says, we've brought in a whole bunch of heavy equipment, and that's how many meals we have served in our operations center just since we've been here. And we do all of our own feeding. You'll see in the back of the property there are 3 shower and laundry trailers that are supporting our operation as well. What's our objective? There's our objective: to bring help, hope, and healing in the wake of disaster by bringing prepared, skilled, and focused volunteer service and support to survivors. We take this mission seriously, and we have been involved nationally in every nationally declared disaster and event that's been in the news for the last 50 years. We have a lot of experience, and we do a lot of training to be able to do this. And our hearts are completely pitched towards, we know what disaster does. We know what it does to surviving families and homeowners, whether it's floods, fires, or tornadoes and hurricanes. We know that the cost and the difficulty can be immense. So that's why we have organized, and this is what we do. Now, as a part of that objective, we assist homeowners with the removal of damaged trees under these priorities, as you see. Dangerous stuff. We got to get rid of that first. Obviously, your city, your town, has taken care of the things along roadways. We know the power company works very hard to get those lines back up. But when it comes to the personal property, there's still a tremendous amount of dangerous stuff hanging around. And so that is our objective, to get that stuff dealt with first. What does that look like? Pretty much like that. I think you're all pretty familiar at this point. I don't have to teach anybody. We use bucket trucks, and currently we've got climbers that are doing the high work, getting the stuff down on the ground. We also get them off of houses. Anything that is going to cause danger in the future. Now, I have to also believe that you're going to be continuing to deal with such issues for many months to come. There have been many trees in all sorts of situations that have been fatigued or injured in the process that you haven't even seen yet come down. And so that process is going to continue in the months ahead. We also assist homeowners with damaged trees under these other priorities, and that is homeowners with inabilities to recover on their own, including those who may be elderly, disabled, financially limited, or impaired, or with young children, or first responders. They get right to the top of our list. These are the folks that we want to help the most. Now that means we have to prioritize. So we send assessors to every house that requests assistance. And even those that don't, we'll stop next door when we see damaged property and find out whether they need assistance. We have to be able to assess those, to be able to set those priorities. We have limitations on just how much we're going to be able to accomplish. But let's take a look a little bit more at that. Realize everything we do is free of charge. We know what the financial burden is on families when it comes to this. We also are very well aware of some of the disreputable contractors that move in very quickly after events like this. They take undue advantage, and they shouldn't, but that is also what we're here to help with. So, what have we been able to accomplish? This is going to give you the big view of what we've accomplished in 6 towns. We have received from those 305 homeowner requests for help. We've worked 26 of those requests today. Doesn't mean they were finished, but that's how many that our work crews are currently spread out and working. We have completed the recovery on 134 of those requests. And that can be anything from 3 trees to 30 trees. And you well know what the size of some of these trees are. And so we are very challenged to be able to score just that many so far. 101 of those are yet to be assessed or are ready for our work crews. That means we have invested 17,600 volunteer hours just to date. Now I'm reporting some numbers to you. This isn't the official record yet. We're still rolling up data, and we still have a job to do. We have committed ourselves originally to work until June 30th. Realizing the size and the magnitude and the depth of this event, we decided that we had to at least put in another 2 weeks. So we are now therefore committed through July 14th. How do we make that decision of how far we're going to go? It's simple. It certainly doesn't have to do with, unfortunately, how much more work needs to be done. We wish we could spend the entire summer with you. But there's limited time and limited resources and limited finances. So we have to make a decision. And so far, that is our official at this point. But let's get a little more specific. What does this look like for Southbury? So far, we have taken 123 requests from Southbury homeowners. We still need to assess or work 43 of those properties. And we are full bore working at that day by day. Now, there have been others that have been closed out here in Southbury, whether the individual homeowner was able to marshal the forces and or finances to accomplish getting those properties dealt with, or perhaps other organizations or even contractors, like some of the logging companies. Those are on our record as being closed out. And then the homes that we have completed so far in Southbury, 61. We're still working though. We still have another 43 to go. What does that mean to you financially? Everybody always wants to know this. We have an estimated savings to homeowners here in Southbury at this juncture of at least $915,000. If we complete all 104, we estimate well over $1.5 million of savings to homeowners. How many volunteer hours have we put in so far here in Southbury? 3,508. What does that mean when it comes to FEMA credits? If you have a FEMA agreement, this is what it means. In dollars and cents, that is a credit for our volunteer hours to date, $83,000. We estimate that it'd be $142,000 if we reach all 104 of those households. This is a part of the process. When FEMA makes declarations, you guys have had to learn how all that works. But a percentage of what this town then owes back in those contracts can be recouped through volunteer hours. So any town, any community, and any organization helping in a recovery effort needs to be able to account for and track is volunteer hours. It is valuable in this process. That's what we do. We just pick the trees up and move them. Not really. Do you have any questions?
Board have any questions? Mike?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you, and I'm sure I can actually in this case speak on behalf of not only the people sitting at this table, but everyone in our town. My closest friend in town, and we spoke just before the meeting, I told you, was one of the residents here whose family benefited. They had been going through a hard time. There had been a recent death in the family, and then the tornado came. And you guys were spectacular. You removed some 40 trees, and he could not say more about just how wonderful it was. So I'm happy and all those things.
Very well.
Any questions?
No questions. I just want to add to that and thank you guys for everything you've done for being in town and helping our residents. It's really good for a lot of people. You know, I've heard a lot of comments about how happy people are with everything you've done. You really had a tremendous impact on so many lives in our community who would not have had means to get this done. And as quickly as it's gotten done for a lot of people, all the work and all the hours you put in. So really thank you guys for being here and everything you're doing.
I would comment further. First, it's a privilege to serve. But I have to say, of the towns that we've worked with here in Connecticut in this event, Southbury is the most generous, most well-equipped from a perspective of people that do this kind of work than many of the other towns in this region. I hope that this process has been educational. And I think one of the things that we have offered in the process of this is your understanding that we also, and I didn't really talk about this an awful lot, you could well imagine that we have chaplains, well-trained chaplains, because of the, not just the need for spiritual counsel in events like this, but the emotional aspects of an event like this bring a tremendous amount of stress. They bring it to you, and these events also bring it onto your residents. And we're here to try and bring that back down. To be able to help in those hot spots. And First Selectman Jeff has done a wonderful job at connecting with us to let us know about some deep concern issues, and we like to unkink those and get them taken care of. In some occasions, it may even mean blowing through the red tape to get the job done. When a volunteer organization does it, it takes that completely off of you. And we recognize that. But I do want to challenge you. Trees. We'd love to live with them. But this is what happens when they are not well kept. And when people allow them to grow in places they shouldn't. Express these concerns to your town. Residents need to take more proactive action in removing trees from around wires and away from their homes. You've allowed too much of this to grow. And now it had gotten very dangerous. So I hope some folks have learned some lessons about that.
How do you recruit your volunteers?
All of it is through our churches. We get our churches involved. Usually it begins with one or two. They come to some of our trainings. They get a little bit of a taste of what this is about. And then eventually they come on a deployment. And then their fires are lit.
And that's a 10-day obligation, or how does that work?
No, what happens, you have to understand that the many people that have been engaged in this is because there are literally thousands that have already trained, and a handful are ready and or available to deploy. So this really is about numbers. And so we train regularly. every season, every year, we're doing trainings for every one of those that want to volunteer. And those that have deployed, they're training even more to get themselves ready for the different tasks.
The reason I ask is you were kind enough to come to my church, South River Congregation, and we helped out tremendously, and we gave people, lots of people hope in our community, so thank you for that. And they want to get involved, so we need to know how to do that.
Well, we do have other non-SBC churches that do train and get involved, and so it's a matter of letting us know who we can communicate with, and when we put out bulletins about training opportunities, then you can dive in, and we welcome those that wish to walk alongside of us and work with us. All right.
George?
Thank you. I mean, everybody's going to say the same thing. I want to keep that, but what do you need from us? I mean, donation-wise, I think the town has been fairly generous with water and Gatorade and power bars. I mean,
Really well.
what's the how can we help? What more can we do? What would you ask for?
Nothing.
Good.
We are.
Well, what if it just showed up? I mean, what kind of thing would you be happy to get?
He's got plenty of water, I understand.
He has the water.
We're real good on the water right now. We did set up a pool. Really, we don't look for it, we don't ask for it, and we really don't desire it, because this is I'll be honest with you, this is our Christ-filled honor to serve. We want to grace people and be an example to a community so that others in the community want to do the same thing, because that's how you get the job done. The more that pitch in this day of do it for me, we have a better world, a better community. So we want to be that example of this is how to serve. We have to sacrifice, we have to volunteer, we have to get involved, and not think that some other organization or our government is going to come and help. So it's our privilege to do this, it really is. And we want it to stay that way. So you're not, we don't invite that. We appreciate that you want to respond that way. But we have really kind of figured out how to make this all work with all that others have sacrificed to make this possible. It's their giving that has made this possible. So behind all of this effort are thousands of others who have given and sacrificed to make this possible. So it's our honor to do this.
The amazing thing that what I'm seeing here is the government is held back by regulations, rules, red tape, second guessing, any multitude of things. But what I'm finding is that these volunteer organizations of all denominations, there's the list goes on and on in all denominations, that do this. They were able to cut through the red tape. They were able to do things that our government would never be able to do. It would take a year to organize it. I mean, I'm dealing with FEMA and the state, and it's just, we keep falling on top of ourselves and fumbling along. But your group came in, we never called. You must have read about us in the newspaper or something.
Said by God.
And showed up at the EOC, and I was like, who wants to? I said, someone wants to help. And it was really not believable. But then we checked it through FEMA, and you are FEMA?
That's right.
Vetted, FEMA, and Red Cross vetted, and we checked out, we did, to make sure our citizens were not being taken advantage of. And I can't tell you enough what this, I know that I will be frank with you, the burden that it has taken off of the government, off of my office, is tremendous, because Tim came to me and explained this to me, and it was pretty much like, you know all this. And one of the things he said to me was, you need to be unburdened from this because you have work you need to do for the community that can't be tied up trying to deal with the side of it. We'll take this side of it, and you'll get done what you need to get done. And it's allowed our office to move forward with what we need to do from a governmental standpoint. So, any other questions from the board? Tim, thank you. I'll be in touch with you before you leave. And thank you for all your work and your people for all the work. And it's been pretty safe except for one piece of equipment. But it was just a piece of equipment. So
Better the equipment not be.
yeah, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight. I think it was something that needed to be heard publicly. We do recognize we're a Tree City, USA, but Tim is saying we're maybe a little too much tree.
That's a mystery. I would advise one last matter, and I'm not trying to throw this under high critical scrutiny, but you as a council need to learn more about what a BOAD organization is in this state. Much more should and could be done in that arena. That would have been much more help in this event. We are a BOAD organization, and you're right, this badge is Homeland Security vetted. We participate with many other organizations in that structure. And there are far too many communities and emergency managers that don't know.
You don't get too many tornadoes.
No, you don't. Let this be the last.
Thank you. Okay, Arthur O'Neill is not here. Next on the agenda is public comments. We'll take no limit to 3 minutes if you identify yourself. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Lorraine Marcantonio, Heritage Village, Southbury. First of all, thank you. You've shown what true service, what we need to be to others, and it's an example. It's not just words, it's action. And that's what we all need to do, so I applaud you. Great. Come to the village. The next thing I'd like to say, though, is we do have a responsibility as a town for certain things. What I'm looking for is a point of information for the future, not tonight. I'd like to see what have we done, how much have we spent of the town money that was released, number one. What vendors have we used to help with the cleanup in a timely fashion? Because I know Heritage Village, we called up workers to get the proper stuff from Long Island, paid a hefty amount to do that. But we're working on getting cleaned up. So I'd just like to see in the future an accounting of, as of this date, how much has been spent, who are the vendors, and just get it out for transparency for the rest of us. And again, thank you, bless you.
Any other public comment?
Ed Edelson, 609B, Heritage Village. Again, thank you, Tim. I hate to say this, but we went through 2 storms that were worse than this about 8 years ago, and we didn't learn the lesson about trees. We learned it for a couple of weeks, but before you knew it, we had people on our various commissions saying we've got to keep those trees, can't cut anything down on Main Street, even though we're entangled with the wires. So it's a lesson we unfortunately seem to need to learn over and over again. So I wanted to show you my appreciation to this board because it was really heartening to see how you came together right after that event, had an emergency meeting, utilized emergency powers, and you allocated what I understand to be $500,000, which was reasonable based on our experience with the prior storms in 2011. But like Lorraine said, we don't seem to have seen much has happened with that money. When we got it finally authorized back in 2012, after some delay based on the election and the changeover of the administration, once we got moving, we were able to get that RFP together very quickly, award it, and have people on the street quickly. So I'd love to hear tonight some accounting for what's happened over the last 5 weeks, that only now an RFP is going out. Looks like it hopefully will be awarded by early July, but we're talking about 8 weeks from the time of the incident until we really have boots on the ground to help. And as I drive around, and bike around, I see lots of intersections that have stuff piled. Those are dangerous situations. There's visibility issues. These are the things we should be addressing, because we have no guarantee that there won't be another tornado next week or the week after. And that's why you have to clean up quickly. I was surprised, George, by your question of Tim. Why wasn't that asked 3 weeks ago when they first got here, to say, what can we do for you? Why, with this money that was allocated, didn't the town just say, what can we give you to help you do your work? I was at South Britain Church where they mobilized to loan them a freezer. We could have bought them a freezer and said, this is our donation for not only what you're doing here in Southbury, for all the future events you do. We are a generous town, but if we have the money allocated, why aren't we using it in a positive way? Finally, I'm hearing stories, and I can tell, I think, from some expressions others are hearing, what Tim referred to as potential price gouging. It's a very serious thing that I'm hearing rumors about. I don't believe we heard that 6, 7 years ago. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I was naive. But I think that's something worth us finding out, because if there are vendors in this town who are taking advantage of people under these conditions, we should know about it and we should be public about that. That's not the way a community comes together, by certain individuals trying to take advantage of others. So I hope we'll see some accountability about how our money's being used and accountability for any price gouging that might be going on.
Any other public comment?
Hello, Shay Brown, 32 Bagley Road. I sent you guys an email. I got an award related to the town, for everyone here. It's a Climate Champion Award presented to Southbury for showing leadership and innovation in the implementation of passing an ordinance that legislates the fracking-based ban. So that was passed, obviously, in April. It's for your town hall. Maybe you guys can hang it up if you want, or just drop it off for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Rich Boritz. I live at 401A Heritage Village. I have a contraption here that'll make my phone sound a little louder, because I'm here to thank those friends and neighbors who supported the ban of bump stocks in Connecticut. As you know, Governor Malloy recently signed the bill. And it was a result of a lot of friends and neighbors speaking out and letting our representatives know how they felt. And I am heartened by what our state government has done. And I want to share with you just a small portion of a recording done by a concert goer in Las Vegas, so you understand what we have banned in the state. That recording was 1/20th of the time that that man was shooting.
Any other public comment? Sir?
Excuse me. My name is Robert Hunter, 232 Stonegate Drive, Southbury. Talking about tree cutting and gouging, you probably realize there are two guys riding around in a van with a dog who are willing to cut down 100 trees for $400. I looked into, redress. It actually is possible to replace those trees. They replace trees that are 100 feet tall. The record is a ginkgo tree that was 750 years old that was replaced. So the only thing is for the attorney to come up with the money. It would be millions of dollars. He did our cause to do, or permitted to do, or encouraged to do. We have his word for what transpired as an agreement between the two men. Probably the dog was not among the two men. I can't see any way that he could make this up, short of deeding his property to the town. And then he could do what he wanted with the house and join the 10 acres onto the open spaces. I mean, anything less than this, planting little trees now, in 125 years, none of us are going to be around, my grandson won't be around. So I hope you come up with something that's fair to everyone, except the people who have been unfair to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Announcements and correspondence we have in front of you. Any questions? We have your reports from the different groups.
Just one thing on the reports, if you notice the reports on the website, updates for May, I believe the number, I don't have it open in front of me, but the website visits were up, I think it was 111% or 11,000%. Oh, there you go. If you look on the emergency center page, go up a little bit more. Clearly, an 11,777% increase. It is a resource, even for those who lost power, for those who did have power, clearly in the month of May. And I'd say the improvements that were made, have made it a more user-friendly resource. So, in emergency situations like that matters. So.
Okay. Move on to consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Consent agenda. Have a motion?
I'll move to approve it.
Have a second? Made a second. Any discussion?
I was just going to talk about the positions. Are we going to talk about forming a committee to hiring these replacements?
We're going to approve the
job descriptions.
We'll approve
3,
the job description.
G3.
So unless you have a problem with the job description.
That's part of the discussion, though. I mean, we need to form a.
Do you want to pull that out? The consent agenda, or do you have a,
I have
G4,
a,
I'm sorry.
my
G4,
comments
I
were
never
geared
changed
toward
the number.
a couple of changes to the job description, so I think it probably makes sense to pull it out.
which one?
And add it to new business. Mine is the treasurer.
Receipt.
Okay. So we'd like to take the treasurer's job description out and add it to new business under new business. Discussion of the treasurer's job description. Okay. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Made and seconded. Any other discussion on removing the treasurer's job description out of the consent agenda and into new business? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Back to consent agenda. Motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda?
As amended, so moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any carries? Okay, minutes of June 7th, 2018, regular meeting. You have a vote?
I move they be approved.
Have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion?
I do have one comment at the very end, where it states that First Selectman Mandel reported that he just learned that STS Fire Department is not being staffed by the state. I think for clarity, it should be that it was not being staffed by the state that evening. which is what was stated, just for clarity. So that, they've just came with that evening with that, I think it's more accurate with the
Anybody else? I'll take that.
I think that accurately reflects what was said that night, but do we know the current status?
Well, we want to discuss that, we want to finish the minutes.
We can bring it in your report.
Yes.
We can talk about that.
So,
So I amend my motion to reflect as amended. Good luck with getting over it.
okay.
I did make,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other? Transfers? That was, any questions? Bill is here, if there's any questions.
Is it safe to assume the fuel transfers are basically related to the school?
Well, not entirely. We did have a pretty bad January. We were out a lot. In addition, the cost, as you all know, has gone up, definitely higher than we budgeted. It's a combination of usage and cost. Just three separate: fuel, highway, police, and transfer station.
I think the budgeted number was $1.80,
$1.85, I think.
and it's $2.30.
In the new budget, we did $1.80 as well,
We did 210.
so maybe.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe the usage won't be as high.
Okay, any other, so here we have,
The only transfer that's not interdepartmental, I believe, is for the fire department for the TAR program. And that's just based pretty much on usage and then more calls, more training. And certainly Storm has something to do with that.
this one?
they get a, PAR on the number of calls and stuff, and that's done really well.
So again, all the others are within the department, just going between lines, except for the fire department, TAR program.
Okay, any other questions on the transfers? Ready to approve them? Okay, you can want to make the resolve that the Saukey Board of Selectmen hereby approves the following transfers. 18-34, service expense, 2,500 for postage.
This one?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any second? Any
Is that the one you
discussion?
just said?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is 18 dash, can we take these as one,
As
18 dash,
As presented.
as presented? Resolved that the Southbury Board of Selectmen hereby approves and refers the following transfers to the Board of Finance as presented. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. I think that takes care of the transfers. Does it?
Yep.
Good. Thank you. Unfinished business, charter revision commission. We need to appoint
Do we have anything here on that?
a group of
Okay.
people. I think we just felt it should be 9. That's what I think we voted on the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, actually, do we have ballots?
Yep. There
Will
you
you
go.
explain that, how we'd like to do this? We have ballots. We didn't get the ballots. There's a red one on this.
Yeah, that leaves she withdrew.
Oh, okay.
Like said she withdrew.
Kathy probably withdrew first or second.
So, what we're gonna do, this is, Jason, I think you were around in the last commission.
So if you
I
want to
wasn't
just,
around for the voting in the last commission. I was on the last commission.
Go
you
ahead.
want to just pick your top 9 and then Cindy and I will count them up.
But the makeup needs to be,
Well,
there still need,
I
you
would,
need to adhere
I
to
would
the
pick the
makeup.
top 9 first, and then maybe it will fall in order, but, well,
We need,
Doesn't there need to be
Minority
balance?
representation, talk about
Right,
minority
just, yeah,
representation.
you can have no more than, I
Majority.
believe it's a majority of the single party representation. So we can't.
So are we selecting just the top 9 and then open, or are we selecting it based on based on the?
I think, Mike, if you select the top 9, then we'll tally them, and if we need to do. Huh?
You're the second ballot? Is it
Yes,
like-
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
it makes
My,
up ballots, but.
wife is on here. Do I need to recuse myself because of that, or
No.
not necessarily? Tell me
you don't have to vote.
No.
So now,
That's all independent decision.
Don't hold it up to the video.
Yeah, that's true.
Just circle the number, is that what we're doing?
Writing wire
It's not
in,
working streaming?
writing wire in.
Does Goshen know?
Yeah, what's ours?
How do you want us to do this, you guys are tallying? Do you want us to write wire in, or do you just want us to circle 9?
Either or,
Either or,
just so we'll know.
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
like the hanging chad.
Circle, circle.
Circle 'em.
Circle your number. Thank you.
This is going to be.
You feel pressure?
pressure's incredible.
How many of those do you have? How many of those do you have? You might need to
No, we
again.
only made 6. Silly me.
Secret ballot.
I get to leave you.
Blush.
Thanks.
I'm not sure if you're voting for someone or against. I think it goes to church.
One thing I just want to mention, it's really hard to find people to serve on committees, boards and commissions, and our town committees will tell you that, and there's vacancies on lots of our boards and commissions, so whoever ends up on the charter review commission, I think we got a pool of very good candidates, and we got, the reason why we just went through this process was because we had so many, and, trying to find a fair way to whittle it down, I assume, was part of the process for doing that. So I just want to thank everyone who applied and ask people to, doing it on this commission, consider devoting your resources elsewhere, because the town does run on volunteers, as it says back there, and, it's important, and I just thought it was great that we have so much interest.
Yeah, and I'd also certainly second that, but also for those here, you should know that we receive resumes from people, or bios and backgrounds, so we could, so they weren't just names on a sheet.
Those are popularity.
It wasn't just a popularity contest. So, yeah, it really is it's a major commitment and a very serious, opportunity for the town to look at the futures.
Jason, in your experience, has anybody ever started and then not been able to fulfill the commitment? I mean, should we be looking at substitutes, or are we gonna go with 9, and then if somebody drops off?
There's no, I don't think the statute provides for alternates. I think we'd have to deal with it if someone resigned, we'd have to deal with it.
I mean, the timing
Not
of it.
entirely sure.
Right.
My understanding is that Jason tried many times and Ron would not let him.
I tried to get rid of it.
I think it also makes a difference where if you're in the middle of how far into the process you are. To start somebody out again from the beginning is a big, I would think it would be a big catch-up.
Right, but if it was early on, maybe we could think about it.
Yes. Sure.
How long does the process take? About a year?
So it can, I forget what the maximum amount it can take. I think it goes over a year, but I think the goal that Lynn presented in her timeline was to get on the November ballot in 2019, which means they would have to get their recommendations to us probably by next June, because then we have 30 days, I think it's like 30 days or something to have a hearing, and we can make comment, we can send it back to them, and then they can meet, and they can send it back to us. So you have to build that time frame in, because they got to print the ballots in, I don't know, sometime in September. It's got, the whole process has to be completely over.
No summer vacation.
Should have said that before they enlisted.
I mean, we can, another thing too is, I hate to say this, but if there's a problem and you can't get on that ballot, you can hold a charter for like a year. Like, it doesn't have to go on that immediate ballot. But the goal would be to.
All right,
Jeff,
The county.
you also have to, I know it's not public comments, but you also have to find time for public hearings also.
And you gotta accommodate 9 new people's schedules. They're gonna get together sometime in the next couple of weeks and say, really?
They were serious. Yeah, you did sign up for this. No, again, you're right, the volunteers, the hours put in to this community, and I think others who have come in have seen this. When the call goes out, people from Southbury do respond in a great way. And that's what makes us, obviously makes our town. We should maybe be volunteer city USA, the tree city.
Jeff, if you want to move on,
Yes, let's move on.
they're going to be a little bit.
We tried to do a fill-in, I wasn't doing well. We'll come back to Charlotte. Discontinuance of course with Depot Hill.
I'm going to recuse myself for material reasons as I work for the law firm representing the applicants.
There you go. Do we need a resolution for that?
Didn't we vote on this last week and then the town?
I thought you did too, but I was told you had to do this tonight after the town meeting.
We have to do this after the town meeting.
That's all. You want to look at the map?
There's no harm in doing it.
Yeah. I don't think there's a resolution, Jeff.
There's no resolution?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I would say that,
Motion to approve the discontinuance of Depot Hill Road as
Is that-
voted on earlier in the town meeting.
I'll second. Made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Okay. On to, how did you know we voted?
Carried.
You were listening in to that discussion.
Okay, I'd like to move on to Deputy EMD Lessons Learned Process. Scott, would you like to come up, and address the board on this Lessons Learned process and what you're looking to do?
Yes, thank you very much for taking the time on me to come back and give more presentation. And I want to give another shout out to the Tim and the crew. Thank you very much for everything you've done. It's been wonderful.
Scott, could you raise that up?
So we're not watching straight.
How's that?
Good.
Okay. All right. As you go through any event, any process, the most important part about it is learning what you did right and learning what you did wrong, so you don't repeat the same mistakes as last time. We felt these lessons learned as opposed to lessons observed. The lessons learned process is going to be lengthy and it's going to be thorough. What we want to do is take all of our perceptions that we all have, being in the middle of the event, being those of you from the outside of the event, the citizens of the town. We want to get everybody's input in so we can make sure that everybody's perception is in fact the reality. Because for the person standing in the middle of their own perception, that is their reality, but things going on the outside that you don't see and don't understand. So that process now is beginning. We held our first meeting to actually agree to what the timeline was, and we can capture all of what we think happened. Now we're starting to get data pouring in from other entities coming in. I've gotten call logs from dispatch. I've gotten radio transmissions from dispatch, just the times and what it's affected, it was all de-identified and everything, because I don't need the names, numbers, or anything like that. It's like, okay, was there an uptick in calls during the 5 p.m. hour on May 15th? You bet there was. So now we've got that data to actually show to go along with the website. It goes to the whole website tracking all of them. How many hits came in on the website, delineate what they were looking for, what they were responding to, how many cold reds went out, when did they go out. We're trying to aggregate all that data. Part of this process is getting input from the public. So my next step, I want to have 2 meetings, scheduled I guess you call meetings, scheduled on the 2nd and the 16th, strictly for public comment. We're there to listen, to receive data. We're not going to say anything, we're not going to dispute anything, we're not going to agree anything. We're just sitting there going to take all the data in. It goes into the whole process, so we can aggregate it and get down to what actually happened. Again, we made mistakes, we realize that. We did some great things, we realize that also. But now we want to learn this. The next time when an event like this happens, somebody can pull the book off 15, 20 years from now. Hopefully it goes that long before we have another event like this. And go, what happened to them? What did they do to respond to it? How did they get through it? That's the important stuff. So then we can become a more resilient town. We can remain a town that runs on volunteers. We can remain a town that is a tree city if we do it the right way. So that's what the goal is for that. Like I said, it's not going to be quick. I'm looking at a 6 to 9 month time span. I'm one person trying to do this and trying to present a report to the Board of Selectmen at the end so you can approve it. So there's going to be time. Maybe can you meet? Can you review what we've got in the draft form? Maybe can you get back to me for comments? So that's why there's some of those out there that want it done very quickly. But when you do it quickly, you miss things that are extremely important when you don't capture all that data. So please bear with me. And I said it's going to be about a 6 to 9 month process. We're going to set the 2 town meetings at the 2nd and the 16th of July. Start.
What time?
I'm going to start at 7 o'clock. And my goal is to be done within 2 hours. However, if somebody's here after that, I'll stay and take on the data as long as I can.
Those meetings are to receive comments from the public.
Yes,
about
strictly receive.
perception, their thoughts,
Absolutely.
their.
There's not going to be any presentation of data from us. This is strictly what they saw, what they felt happened, and we want to take all that in because that's going to fill in some holes that we got that we didn't see and we didn't know things that happened out there. Because we weren't everywhere at every part of the day.
And there's also for Jeff as well, for those 2 meetings, will we run them under normal, regular rules?
There's a possibility, it'll be put out that there'll be a possibility of a forum with the Board of Selectmen. This will be Scott's meeting as the MD, to take this information in. There will not, my understanding is not going to be, for him, my understanding for what he needs to do for this report, there will not be a discussion back and forth about what a person, what I talked to Scott about was, what a person perceives happened is what they perceive. Whether there was a reason something else was happening at that time and they felt it shouldn't, that this shouldn't have been happening, it happened. Whatever happened did happen, right or wrong, and it happened. Take the information and you'll analyze that. There may be a reason why you saw someone standing there with whatever, and what were they, that was stupid, they should have been doing that. There may have been an actual, very specific reason why that person was there. But we need to take that data in, but not about, it's not.
Yeah, and my point was more about for residents who do want to come, are we going to run it under public comment, traditional public comment guidelines where we're limiting people to 3 minutes to speak?
That's a great suggestion.
Just so that our residents know that we really want to hear.
And we can receive
Right, and in general,
public
comment. I think that's important, and I assume we will publicize this. That we will publicize this to make sure our residents are aware and post it on our Facebook page.
This is not the only forum for them to transmit data to us. Also, we can receive it from the website, or via the website, via Facebook. However they want to get it to us, and if they have a more lengthy thing that they want to discuss, they can certainly email it to us. Again, this is not for me to say, well, that didn't happen, or we think like this. No, that's not the time for that.
And I think part of it is you can sort of see how it goes. I mean, if you have your first meeting and 100 people show up, then yeah, you're going to have to limit the time and whatnot. But if there's 10 people here, you know,
yeah.
We'll let everybody go and
You
then
know,
go back by round or something.
And then, you know, we said, yeah, at least have let everyone go once and then
Yeah.
we can talk again. But, and, you know, I just want to make sure that, in the messaging for this, that it's set out that this is solely to receive input, it's not for discussion, and it's related to, specifically identify what it's related to. It's not related to some of the public comments we got this evening about cleanup. It's about emergency response within the first week of the storm. That's what this is.
I captured the data essentially the first week while we were in the state of emergency while the EOC was open. The remediation and recovery for staff of the cleanup, I mean, that's a totally separate issue.
And again, I want to say again, I also recognize, and I've spoken with Scott about this, you need to recognize that no natural disaster goes perfectly every time. Never going to happen. But we can improve as much as we can. We've not been through a tornado before. That's our goal, is to improve how we operate and how well it works. To get closer to that goal, but if it was a different scenario, it would change again. But that's the goal here, is to be productive with this.
And I agree, I think that, you know, and I completely understand Scott's point of view to talk about the immediate, let's call it the immediate response. So we can get our feedback. I do believe, though, that at another point, and after if we're looking at the 2nd and the 16th, that at some point we should also consider encouraging those who do want to talk about the remediation and recovery effort after the fact, to give them that opportunity to hear from them as well. You know, but I understand. I think it's important. I think it's important to communicate, so there's no disappointment and no surprises that when we have these sessions, it's specific to the immediate aftermath and of the tornado response. But I do believe we should talk as a board about giving another forum for those to talk about the recovery and remediation process.
With that, we've got a lot more going on, but that's just kind of a separate piece of it. And Scott got us through the
Can I just say one other thing? We've said it many times. Thank you again, Scott. And I think for those here again, Scott, and we're very fortunate to have him in town.
We're always very fortunate to have the depth of volunteers in this town that comes across where you don't expect it. But there is a lot of great resources. Thank you. Okay, so we'll be getting that out and sending it out. That will be Scott's meeting. Is this the result?
No.
I'm gonna have them sign it. Don't. Yes, she did. She gave me the new one. Yes.
There was a tie. So,
Vote
there was
for
a
one.
tie. We need to break that. We need to vote for one single person.
Is there before we do that, isn't John McConnell, is there,
Okay, well, good.
I had a different, one of the old.
I mean, change my vote, you change your vote.
You can start, it could be like a convention vote, we can start trading votes. I'll give you my delegates.
It's so funny.
We'll be back quickly.
Should this take very long? Can we still look at it? What's that? Still working on that. Okay. All right, not direct, because there's only three. I want to connect it. What's that?
We can go back to it.
We can go back to it. Your call.
Amendment number 2 to the retirement plans employees of the town of Southbury. This is an amendment to the disability pension benefit. A participant who has served at least 5 continuous years of employment as an officer of the town will be eligible to receive. Are we good?
Yeah.
So we're going, can we go back to the Charter Revision Commission?
Yeah, I don't have anything on it.
Yeah, we don't have anything on it.
Do we have the final?
Yep, Cindy's got it.
So I can read the results of the vote. I'm going to read them in the same alphabetical order that they were in, so in that order, not by another. Shanna Bertram, who is an R. William Collin, who is a U. Ed Gittens, a D. John Gray, an R. Mary Corsu, an R. John McConnell, a D. John Monteleone, an R. Bill Tolley, an R. And Don Winter, a U.
Should we vote to accept the, or is it, do we have to vote to accept them, or we didn't just do that?
Yeah, it's 5-4. Can't have more than 5 cars.
5, 2, and 2.
Yeah, 5, 2, and 2.
2 years.
Okay, so that will be the, by vote of the Board of Selectmen, the Charter Revision Commission. Okay, any other questions? I don't think we have to vote, we did vote. Okay, next is the amendment number 2 to the retirement plan for police employees of the town of Southbury. You can read it. Any questions on it?
Is this whole thing new, this whole thing?
Cindy, will you explain? We have Officer Barola here, Corporal Barola, to, Chris, you are the union
President.
Grand Poobah. It's good to be here.
All right, so this year, or this past negotiation, one of the things that we strive to do is to make sure that all the documents were, that needed to be blended, read the same thing. So, in 2011, they negotiated into the contract a disability pension benefit. They never, it never got transferred over to the pension documents. So we had a union contract that said one thing, we had a pension document that did not agree. So, and the reason Chris is here is that we say that both sides concur with this. We sent it to our pension attorney who drafted this. Then we sent it to our labor attorney who concurred with this. And that's what this is really the result of, is just to make sure that all of our documents are cohesive.
And Chris, Corporal Barola is here for you.
Yes, Chris Brillo, as of May 1st this year, I became the union president. This Article 29, Section 29.5, this language is in our current contract, however, like Cindy Harrison said, it is missing from the disability, it's missing from the police pension, which was last amended, I think, in July of 2010. So the contract was signed post amendment of the pension agreement.
Pension agreement. Okay. Do we need to vote on this? I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it carries. Thank you, sir.
They never have to be used.
Okay.
So you, EMS committee, what am I putting up for that?
Next is the EMS committee. In your packets, there is a there was a Holdsworth report that came out in like 2000, I don't have that. 13, recommending that the EMS committee, we're saying the EMS committee was not structured properly. We have a letter from our consultant, Fitch, you have in front of you. So I guess what I'm looking at is I think we need to follow the recommendation that has been both by the Holdsworth report, Glenn Gersha as the project lead, and Bob Holdsworth, the EMS consultant, and also being the opine of Fitch and Associates, who is our consultant, that we restructure our EMS committee to the proper way. So we're looking to, I think we need to do that.
What's the process? Should we go about this?
Well, the board, the selectmen would have to start that process,
Well, I know that.
remaking the EMS committee. But I just wanted you to have in your packet, is the opinion of our, there's a lot of opinions here, but the opinion of our consultant.
We're discussing?
Yeah.
So a couple of comments. The first is, and I think we've discussed in public sessions before some concerns about this. It's been a while though. It's been a while. I mean, it might have been in our first term. I wasn't aware, one, that we were having outside consultants look at it. I don't remember discussing that internally. So, and as liaison to the EMS committee, I wouldn't want to have known that. Two, one thing that I'm not clear about when we look at the other committee structures, and I just use Parks and Rec because I served in that for 4+ years before I was serving on the Board of Selectmen, the Parks and Rec director is invited to sit in on those meetings. This does not have a mention of that. I believe similarly, Senior Services, voting member. So while I appreciate the recommendation, to have no members of our experts, our town experts, serve at least as an invited guest, even if not a voting member, on an EMS committee, concerns me. I have to question the validity of that, because how do we know those other members all have, we have great expertise in this town, don't get me wrong, we just talked about it. I look at our Board of Finances as a great model. However, this isn't a specialty. We've talked here in the past about being grateful for, even when we did the last contract, for the expertise of the members of that committee who all serve within our EMS services, our various EMS services that serve the town. So that's the one I have issue with that. I think that would be troublesome to not have any direct, it says no direct involvement in the daily operations of the EMS system. I don't know in that world how you could effectively make decisions.
Well, this is essentially, that's how most other EMS committees are made up. And this was the report written by Glenn Gersha and Bob Holdsworth recommending that and saying that there should be no there should be checks and balances in there. So we reached out also to the consultant that we were using for other things, who is understands, has credentials, and the establishment of an independent oversight entity in legal, accounting, business, medicine, patient advocacy, hospital and or healthcare, local government elected official, is what would be the way to make it up.
And I'm not saying that I'm uncomfortable with them, and I'm rereading the last paragraph from the report. We believe that the EMS Commission should have no direct involvement in the daily operation of the EMS system, but be an oversight body, therefore no active service member should have a voting seat on the board. If we decide to proceed in this direction, I'm comfortable potentially with that, but it should be stated when we develop the bylaws and charter of this committee, that members of our EMS services, of the leaders of our various EMS services, should be invited as guests to attend every meeting.
That would be fine.
Makes sense.
Have we looked at other Connecticut towns and looked at how they have their EMS committees formally?
Well, I can do that. I have not, I don't have a specific list of other towns and how they do it, but.
And I believe this discussion came up last year. I think last year in the context of the bid that went out. And we had some discussion about the Holdsworth report. Some folks have raised some issues with the Holdsworth report. Heard a lot about the Holdsworth report in the last couple of board selectmen meetings. And I thought that we were, I thought we were doing this, but I thought we were also having a consultant pretty much look at that, report. There's other recommendations in there and stuff about in-town paramedic and whatnot, and that was the discussion we had like a year ago, and we was wondering what if Fitch is the person that's also doing that, and what their process is, and whether they're looking at a full holistic view of the Holdsworth report and updating it, or whether they've just pulled this segment, because this was one piece of it, so that I think there's some clarity on that.
Right. Okay.
Well, is step one to form a committee, and then the committee responsibility would be to look at those issues and questions and go from there, rather than us kind of prejudging what needs to happen?
Oh, but I think that to Selectman Buck's point, I agree. I believe in recollecting. I haven't got the minutes, but I believe those discussions were more in that sense. It wasn't just to look at this one piece.
No.
So I'm curious as to why we chose just to look at this one piece today. But what is the status of the broader review that we had discussed around the time of the last contract negotiation? Was somewhere in that world. I don't remember exactly.
Well, I think we need to do this, form this group, the correct structure, which has been recommended by both Glenn Gersha and the Holdsworth report, and echoed by Fitch. Once we have that group, then that can move forward with that.
Out of respect to current members of this committee, have we made them aware that we were doing this? Have we asked to hear from them to get their opinion? Are we open to hearing from them to get their opinion? I am liaison to that committee, but I am certainly not on the front lines of EMS services in this town, literally. And I trust in their opinion and judgment. So I'm just curious as, if that is something we should do, just to get their opinion on that. Regardless of structure, I'm not saying we need to take it into account. I understand the recommendation critically of that process. But out of common courtesy and professional respect.
I echo Mike's comment, and I also say that during our strategic planning process, it came up that we're at a low for emergency volunteers, and I wouldn't want to discourage anybody from wanting to be an emergency volunteer, especially in times of such great need that we recently had. So I think respect and a conversation before any decision is a much better approach.
Well, it's up to you whether, we can move forward with the recommendations by the person who's the consultant for Southbury Ambulance, who's listed here, Bob Holdsworth, and by Fitch. To properly structure this according to the consultants, this has been left for quite a while. no disrespect, but the people who are involved in the EMS committee right now are also the people who are the ambulance people, and that's a conflict. It's a conflict of interest. It's been said it's a conflict of interest, and what we should be doing is properly structuring the EMS committee for that.
And that's, two comments. One's on, first on process. I think that the town had a report back in 2013. My understanding is that was a draft report, it was never fully accepted. We have confirmation on certain aspects of that report now. We got confirmation 2 weeks ago on the town paramedic recommendations that were set forth in that report. We have confirmation now, Fitch, about that report. I don't see an urgency to do this overnight. This was just, we all got this opinion today. And I think that a process needs to happen where we receive input, not just from the EMS committee, but from perhaps our other emergency responders and from the community. This is not, I see the issue, and I think it is an issue. And perhaps at some point after we receive input, we should have Fitch here to actually talk to us about how he's structured in the past, and what the best way to do it is. And I'm sure he's probably been involved in situations where he's had to restructure committees and whatnot, and that might be a good discussion to have with him. So I think if we're going to head in this direction, I think we got to do it right, and we got to follow a process. We got to have discussion. We need to receive input, and we need to hear more from our consultants, and go through that process to set us up in the best way to restructure this committee in the best way if that's in the best interest of the town. My other comment deals with the timing of the analyses. And I don't know the best answer there, but I had always thought of this as it's our role first to do this evaluation, and we should do that in a holistic manner, reviewing the entire services, the entire Holdsworth report, not just a part of it, and our board makes recommendations and determinations, not let's just deal with this piece, set up the EMS committee and let them go from there. I had always thought we were going to get a more fuller analysis up front before we went through that process. I could be mistaken, but those are, I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that about the best way to do it, but that's sort of where I'm coming from at the moment, based on what I have in front of me.
Why do we need an EMS committee if we're going to do all that? These are big picture issues that affect people in the town for a long time going forward in the future. I'd like to do it right, whatever the right way is.
I
think we're saying.
Right, now, and I'm just wondering if, we may not implement all this stuff, but I feel like we need to have a broader picture. We need more knowledge and more information and more data and have the full analysis, and then we may say, okay, the best way to do this is let's restructure the committee, set that up, and let them do that stuff. But
So if I may, on that, if you look on the second page, there is from Fitch a recommendation. He's not physically standing here, but if you read that second page, establish an independent oversight entity. And I think the creation of that first, and then that committee would look at the recommendations for the emergency services. That would be what they would do on an independent basis.
So I read it differently. I read the words, I'll read it for the public to see too. It's the responsibility of the independent oversight entity to establish, monitor, and enforce the EMS system's performance standards. That's what it said. Once the oversight entity is established, all providers within the system are accountable to this oversight body. I believe it is the responsibility of this board to have all the information first before we move forward. It's been since 2013, and well before that this issue was going on. I don't disagree that we should be considering changes. We've talked about this a year plus. But I don't think we should be doing it all based on an analysis and a review of one part of the conversation that we had back then. We should do it as a whole, as Selectman Buckman said much more eloquently than I have, and then proceed to form, if we believe that is the right path, an EMS committee, a new form for the EMS committee with a new bylaws and charter to enforce the EMS system's performance.
So how do you want to proceed on this? Do you want to?
So I'd like to put this on the agenda for our next meeting.
Sorry?
I want to, this was in new business, so there was nothing necessarily to vote on. I'd want to put this on the agenda for next meeting, invite the public to share during public comment, if they'd like to, their comments, and then certainly at the discretion of my colleagues on the board, invite the current members of the MS committee and other members of our emergency response community to speak as they wish during that part of our agenda.
A conversation.
Yeah,
A conversation's warranted.
you know, the other thing that may be warranted at some point is, and it's just what George and I were saying, that we want to do it the right way. I have one view. I'm not, this isn't my expertise, EMS services, so it's just based on my review of this. I have one view of what that right way might be. Others may have another. Perhaps we have our consultant come to one of our meetings and we present this issue to them. What is the best way to do this? We're going to go and restructure this committee, but there's this whole other analysis that we still need to do that we've been talking about for quite a while now, and updating the entire Holdsworth report and all the other issues that there. This is just one page of the whole report. And is it better to just restructure it, give it to them and move on, or is it better to first have a global understanding of what's going on? I mean, at the moment, I'm on the side that I think a global understanding makes sense, but not my field of expertise. But I prefer more information and be able to make an educated decision.
I agree, unless we believe that public safety is at risk by maintaining the current structure for a little bit longer, I'd rather be right than be rushed.
Well, the last EMS committee's last recommendation, I don't think we are in that situation yet. But this brings it to the table, brings it to the forefront, moves it forward. That it's been, we had a Holdsworth report from 2013. Nothing has been committed, approved. We're dealing with another group here, and they're coming up with it, so it's time to bring this forward and get it done right. So that's what we'll.
I think we all agree on that.
Right.
And it does make sense. I mean, the recommendation makes sense. I mean, it's just a matter of
A holistic approach while honoring those volunteers.
So anyway, that's why I brought that up. I put it under new business. It's here, and it pushes us to, frankly, to keep it on the plate, so to speak, and go from there.
The next July meeting might not be the right time, having not had a meeting for a month,
Right, and it was a little bit.
You really want to give it some, I think in September.
I mean, I'll leave that I certainly, I leave
Table is a law,
for Selectmen, so let's not forget that.
Does anyone have a copy of the Holdsworth report?
Yes. But it's never been, we'll get.
It's drafted, right?
Right. I mean, it's a draft, it isn't approved. Nobody voted on it, it's 2013. We've got to get this. Like, it can't sit out there any longer, it has to be addressed. So I brought it forward. So that'll be under new business at another meeting. Moving forward. All right. Southbury ambulance. Moving on to number 3, Southbury ambulance proposal. There was a proposal made by the Southbury ambulance at the last meeting, and I feel it would be premature to accept the proposal as presented. It requires further study and consideration. there needs to be an independent analysis to determine the financial implications to the town. While Ed Software Ambulance Association has made their presentation, we should not accept it at face value without conducting our own evaluation. So I think we need to do our own financial evaluation to make sure it matches the one presented.
So I think that's some of what we were just talking about. I mean, these issues are not foreign to each other. They're completely related. And that goes back to getting more global analysis of this situation. That's another, the EMS committee is one component, the in-town paramedics is another component, the financing is another. There's a lot of different components. And the Holdsworth report, as I understand it, back in 2013, there were tons of meetings and debate, discussion, people raised issues, whatever. I think that process needs to happen.
Which is part of this, which is financial analysis on the proposal. So that we'll just leave the both of them on to.
But recognize, they didn't have to ask us for,
Right.
they didn't have to ask us for our blessing on their application.
That is not true.
Oh, that was told to us.
That is not true. Okay? So,
So one thing I want to make sure we do, though, beyond the Holdsworth report, is that we do together, and I think we need to be doing these simultaneously, is we need an approach from you, Jeff, of how we're going to move this process forward. Because I do believe that the Holdsworth report, a refresh or an update on it, or however the consult. 5 years is a long time, by the way. A lot happens over a 5-year period, in all fields, certainly in the medical world. But I do think as part of that, we should vet this as part of that process potentially. We should do an analysis of this, along with the review and whether it's having a consultant look at it. But I think this is the SAA is not town-owned entity, and I think Jennifer was in some ways making that point. So I think we do owe it to them as a partner of ours to move not with too much speed, but to really be committed to moving this forward. 2013 was a long time ago, so I think we need to make sure. And I look to the First Selectman's office that you guys come back to us with here's the path forward, so we can be productive in our next meetings when we do bring this back to the agenda and have a clear beginning, middle, and end.
okay. So anyway, that's what we will do. All right. Any other questions? First Selectmen's report.
No, treasurer's
Jobs.
job description.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can look at
yeah.
that.
Before
No, is that all right?
We already had that.
Sorry. Do we have the job description?
Yep. G4C, okay.
So was Bill part of the process?
Yes.
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 Lessons learned.
Nope.
No,
It's not Karen's question.
this is, Bill's feeling about the job and he, frankly, he had most of the input to this. Yeah.
I've only done it for like 36 years.
23.
23, not 36.
How old are you?
I thought it was 36.
So, do you have any?
Yeah, I have a comment. I mean, I think that I think the description is good. I like changing the title to finance director. The one thing that I thought was lacking is we take out the part about this position acting in the capacity as the town's controller and treasurer. Treasurer is a statutory position that has authority and various powers under our statutes. So I think it's fine to call this position finance director, and I think that makes a lot of sense to change it to finance director. But I think the description should include that he has all the power and authority vested in the treasurer under the statutes. That was my, I mean, everything listed in here is pretty much that authority, but we've taken out the reference to the, you know, sort of the term that's used to define the role.
Was this compared to other similar roles in other towns?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, Jason,
So
you
that
want,
that would be my only change.
you want to amend,
Yeah,
why don't you put your amendment in?
I would amend it to put the language back in that says acts in the capacity of the town's controller and treasurer, and has all authority set forth in the general statutes that treasurers have.
You got that?
That's excellent. That's good. That's
It was-
good.
Okay,
It's gone.
so with that amendment, I entertain a motion to approve the,
I have another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not on, not the description itself, but the process. I think Jennifer mentioned it earlier. I assume, I mean, what's the process from here? It's going to
we'll put together, we can come up with a
posted
group.
and
Yeah, posted.
we'll get it present. I just think in this, you know, we hire a lot of people in town, but this is arguably one of the most important positions in our town.
Yes.
So on that hiring committee, I think there needs to be representation from the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. And, you know, we should have our board should have a role in, you know, being part of that process.
Are you saying the whole board?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, it can be,
No,
but that
please.
would be, that would probably, you know, that would be difficult to have, you know, processes. But I think there should be Board of Selectmen representation, maybe two members, Board of Finance representation, and then whoever else we think is, you know, appropriate. But I just want to make sure that we're
So
thinking about that.
why don't we do this, why don't, for the sake of tonight, why doesn't everybody just send an email to Maureen, like, not the specific people, but what you think the makeup may look like for a committee to look at this, and then we'll put that together and then go from there.
I think you could put in the town charter to have certain committees formed for some.
Yeah, the charter revision will be
That's what I
Have
think.
an important,
Yeah, I mean, whatever, I mean, it's on our charter now, we've got to move forward, but I think that, so why don't you go ahead and send the office, your, you know, certainly, Justin, you have Board of Finance experience. You know what is important, you've been there a lot of years, so I should hope that would be, well, all right?
You just got
Sounds like a nomination.
So, okay, so we will,
Motion to approve the job description as amended.
Second.
made and seconded. Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Okay. We're good. Now the selectmen's report, the moment you all been waiting. I did meet Monday with the workforce agreement people. There's a percentage, how the liability of each town is. So let's say there's a $100 liability, which portion each town is responsible for on that. And they explain that, and it's kind of complicated, but it has to do with how many people work, how many people use a service, and a formula. And Cindy, do you remember what that percentage was
For us,
at that time?
it was maybe 2%.
80?
2%.
2%.
So
of the liability.
what they do is they have a total number of people who take part of their services, they, capture that by town, so your percentage is really your percentage of use. So if there's, if the town has 100 people who go and there's 1,000 people who take it, the town's responsible for 10%. But we have a very small
And it
percentage.
does change? So
It does change.
You can't say, well, that's the number, it does change, but it was like 2%.
It was like 2%.
Of the town.
Yeah.
So they're working on this. Afterwards, the two mayors, that are permanent, Mayor O'Leary and City of Danbury were there to meet, and they're working out a new agreement. We're working under the old agreement, we'll get to the new agreement, and we'll get that straightened out. Good news is all the rabbits have been placed, and we are rabbitless. We have no rabbits, and they're all been placed in homes, and we're very happy about that.
Are we gonna get reimbursed by the state?
Yes.
Right, excellent.
All right, that's basically, the farmer's market opened up today. Right, did you see me ring it up?
Eversource.
Did a good job.
Eversource,
So
Jeff.
I do have a question, I think.
What was that?
Eversource.
Oh, yes, Cindy's going to explain, there's a question about, the trees alongside the road, the dangerous trees, the wires, and Cindy has made a call to our liaison, representative today, and she'll explain how this works.
So, right, there's been a lot of questions about that. I spoke with our liaison, who put me in touch with Eversource's arborist. So basically, this is the process. Once the power's up, then the arborists, because they can keep it as part of the event, they go out and they patrol what's out there. And they prioritize based on, they triage it, they prioritize it, and, they take it from there. The patrol has been completed. They're working on the triage. Obviously, they're not finished. In addition to that, as the line crews go out, they can see things. So they can call in and say, well, while we were putting in this new pole, we think these two trees over here are going to become a danger. So arborists go out and look at those, and they become part of that triage system, and they work their way through from the highest priority down. Also, we can capture lists from our own tree wardens, and they'll work with them to make determinations. Once we get debris removal in place, those people working with our tree wardens can also determine that there's something, and Eversource, will go out and take a look at those. If there's citizens who feel that they have something they want to look at, they can call into the dispatch, which is the same number that you would call to report an outage and say, they'd like them to come out and look at that tree, they'll do that. The town continues to be, their tree cutting is put, or tree trimmings is put on a 4-year rotation. The town is divided into sections, so, they come through every 4 years, but they said they also come in every other year to patrol the sections that are not on the tree trimming to make sure that nothing's happened in between and that they should be done. So that's the process that they're using. Bear in mind, they're not going to take trees off of, private property. They're only going to take trees off of right-of-ways and anything that directly is above the power lines or against the power lines.
So we're going to put it up on our website and Facebook, because calls have been coming in concerned about this, and we just got the information late this afternoon, that if people the public has, like, they see a tree, they go to we'll have the number, so they normally call for outages, is the same thing, and report that tree as a problem. And then they'll put it into their queue, and
They'll do their own independent evaluation.
One recommendation in terms of communications on that front, I think broadly, one thing I think we also learned from the tornado response and recovery was whether or not, some people don't use Facebook and some people don't use the internet as frequently or email. Perhaps we can use Parks and Rec Senior Services and do some postings there at the library, old school print postings, to give people some updates, maybe have some public notices there at some of those higher traffic public buildings, town buildings, so folks who might miss it online have the opportunity.
Did Eversource take out an ad?
someone actually suggested today, which was interesting, at the farmer's market, I don't know how to do this, I guess it can be done, text messaging. I guess the school does it somehow. That if they have the text messaging coming out, So that's something we're gonna look at as lessons learned. Because technology's changing. Text messaging for some other people that frankly, we miss that. I miss text messaging. I never thought of it. So, we'll improve and, but we'll get this out on.
You can only send out
a
so
lot of
many
media and get it
characters.
there.
There's no way.
At the beginning of the meeting, we changed the minutes to indicate that the state wasn't staffing the firehouse that night.
The
That
state,
continued.
The status on what,
The
how we ended last meeting.
STS.
On the STS firehouse staff.
the fire department, for all sakes and purposes, we're covering the software training school. We put an MOU out, with them about what we should do and get the agreement, and, their staffing has not changed, it's hit or miss, depending on the day. So for all intents and purposes, we will respond to that.
Do they notify us when their staffing is such
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
I have one other
Yes, sir.
question regarding an update, and it was brought up in public comments. I would like us to get an update from you on some of the costs, the expenses, how any, if any, of the funding that we approved with the Board of Finance has been used in the response from recovery. I think purely for transparency, we should do that. But also, beyond the Eversource trees that are around, there was a public, announcement on our various public sources stating that you can put debris, from storm cleanup debris down by the right of way. But I drove around town earlier in the week and it's still a mess. I mean, there's it's still all there. And I've seen online, and I've gotten a lot of questions myself, people seeing me in the supermarket, texting me, asking about the cleanup. When, what are we doing to help with that part of the cleanup? The sort of the more of the recovery part of cleaning up the brush that's sitting on the side of roads that's on property. Part of the budget that we approved, I assumed would go towards some of that. If we had to, it was great that we had some of us folks here who were amazing. But that was on property to get past that. Now we have, the sort of aftermath sitting on the sides of roads all over town, and it detracts. One I think is probably a danger. Two, but it detracts from the beauty of our county. So is there any? I'd like to get an update, not necessarily right now, but certainly when we get
So
to
the debris management bid did go out. Wednesday,
Return date on the 27th.
the 27th, we'll open up the bids and we'll see what that estimated cost is, and we'll have an idea. Yeah, FEMA, we're going to have to be ready to, once that number comes in, we're going to have to be ready to expend that much money. And we'll have to figure out where it's going to come from when it comes in.
I understand our next meeting was canceled because it's the 4th, but if those bids are coming in next week and we open the bids, I think we should probably have a special meeting, and we need Board of Finance to have a special meeting to approve the bid and appropriate funds, because I assume it's going to be more than $500,000 that we appropriate. So
I think we need to look at the bids, open the bids. We're going to have to analyze them internally first, because we'll get input from the Public Works Director and others of what the bid means and what they're saying and what the best, to compile that first, and then of course we have to get the approval by the board and get that information out.
yeah, it's going to take
It's going to take time to do that.
I don't know that we should, unless it takes that much time, I don't think we should wait till the end of July.
I agree. Our next meeting is not until essentially a month from now. It's the 19th. I think time is of the essence.
Well, we can call a special meeting.
I know I would make myself
We just
available.
need
I think
24 hours
everyone
to do that, and certainly if we have it and we're prepared to present that, 4th of July week is there, and some people are away, some people, but we'll get that together and.
Great.
Jeff, I just want to clarify one thing that was made, a comment that was made tonight. The folks that came, the disaster relief folks, do private property. They're not supplanting our public works department. So we don't pay them, so when you offered to make a, what do they need, you were talking from a private citizen perspective, not from the government.
I'm
Right.
assuming that the town would give them anything.
Right, so I'm just clarifying that this group wasn't supplanting our workers, they were doing
But I
private
think
property.
the point was, we did have funding where the freezer being an example, I guess, that was brought up, we could have provided that. They weren't asking for us to, but we could have.
Right.
But secondly, so there was a number of people who had empty freezers.
Yep.
Cindy had an empty one.
They have my
No,
freezer,
I don't think
they've
they
had
want,
it from the
literally, he said we
beginning.
want for nothing, and the only thing he asked about my friend to do is.
I mean, they.
And I secured 2 others for them the first week they were
Okay.
here. They have 3 freezers, they've had them from the beginning.
Great,
All
so I
they
think, I just think, let's, once we have the bids in, I think we should move with as much speed as is reasonable to bring that to a head, so we can bring that help in, and move that part of the recovery process.
And I want to assure you, given the public comments that came here tonight, that this group was given all the support I could possibly give them. And you heard it from them where they said we were probably the most receptive town there was. So they've been getting a tremendous amount of support, both on my side as the first selectman, but also on the private side. My wife and Shauna Bertram cooked a meal up at our church. Government can only do just so much for private organizations. I recognize that. I think we did all we could. Frankly, when the day comes I retire, I'm thinking, this is pretty good. You can go to Missouri and help out. I mean, I just feel the change.
I don't think, Jeff, I don't think anyone questions that. I think that people heard me say one of my political mentoring heroes was Mario Cuomo, the former governor of New York, father of the governor. I know I won't say anything about. But he said we believe in only the government we need, but we insist on all the government we need. And in this case, we are at a stage where we've approved funding, bids out. Let's move that process forward so we can get our town.
I just didn't want to confuse residents
Exactly
into
right.
thinking that we were giving money to this organization that was only helping 300 households, and that would not be fair.
They
So I
did
wanted to be
ask,
clear.
it wasn't Tim, the guy who spoke, but there was a request that came, as we all know, that they wanted water, Powerade, Gatorade.
And as
That
usual,
was- What's that?
they're watered up.
Yeah, apparently we don't need any more water. That was one of the challenges.
So they've been given a special work from the citizens of this town. They are pretty impressed with the ecumenical side of this town and how much the citizens have done. And that speaks a lot. This is a great town. Okay, reports from liaisons.
No road study to report. IT committee did not meet, but we've had discussions about the strategy we might want to employ going forward. I think they're going to yield some results. I'll hold on discussion in here until we get further. Region 15, there is a meeting scheduled. I think it's July 25th. Came as a shock to me. I thought the committee was defunct, but I guess it's not. Streetscape lights is in Jeff's hands. I'll let him know if he wants.
A lot of RFPs went out. We're trying to.
Yeah, you haven't been busy enough lately. You need to get on the restate.
Economic development met last night, and restaurant meet was a great success.
Yeah, it was.
They're already looking ahead to next year. They're thinking perhaps it could be 2 restaurant weeks in a calendar year moving forward.
And I'd like to have 5 nights of restaurant.
It's only for information.
Yeah. So yeah, they're looking at that. Along that same vein, they are started talking about ideas for other events that they might hold. Obviously, shop local campaigns in the fall. Some mention was made of, Roxbury's got their picking and fiddling, and Litchfield has the Jazz Fest. Not looking to do the same thing, but the group was asked to think about things that we might do, so I would put that out to everybody in town. They might think about things that we might want to do in that day. Obviously, we do it on regular Thursday nights or Monday nights in the summer, but be interesting to see what comes of that, I think. The investment portfolio oversight committee also met between our last meetings. We had a quarterly meeting. We met with our sort of account manager from Boyd, who's handling our defined contribution plan moving forward. Just so happens she's also a Southbury resident, so that was nice to see that that's fully implemented and apparently good news. As far as our standard quarterly report, basically all three of our accounts pulled back somewhat based on market conditions during that quarter. That said, Tom Connor, the chairman, rightly noted, in my opinion, that it may have been our advisor, FIA's, best quarter, because we, on our pension fund, our largest, well, not our largest fund, but our pension fund, we actually outperformed our benchmark by 8 basis points, even though it was slightly negative. So things are still going pretty well there. There's obviously a little more volatility in the markets these days, so we think, based on macroeconomic factors. And the committee to study town hall property has not met since our last meeting. We will be meeting soon, and we should be wrapped up for recommendation for our next meeting at the end of July. So, that's it.
Ms. Naylor? Oh, check them off.
You checked you off.
Self-better. Library meets next week. And Scott was here tonight, so he described the process he's going through and lessons learned. I was at their first lessons learned meeting, which was the week before last, I think. I don't know. Betsy thinks so. And, you know, he's done this a lot before at a much higher level than here, so he's well equipped to do it. He's going through, he has quite a plan, and a progressive plan in place that he discussed, and there'll be a number of meetings and public input, so look forward to that process continuing.
He's done. Okay. Let's see. Senior Services met yesterday, actually, and they appointed a new vice chair in Camille Bertrand's absence. And it was their longest meeting yet. They talked about a lot of important issues. Thames reported that they had over 2,400 visitors to the senior center in the month of May, and that was including when it was used as a shelter. And it was very much used. 30 showers were taken at Upper Rock High School, she says. Anyway, it was a great meeting. The Planning Commission met. We'll be eager to hear about what they came up with. So Kevin Bennett's plan for Roxbury Road, they approved 4 apartments with 6 bedrooms. This is progress. We continued the public hearing on to the 830G application which is affordable housing. A lot of opposition to it, obviously, to a future meeting. They approved 74 new parking spaces at the old Kmart Plaza for unknown tenants. And we may be getting Planet Fitness on Main Street at the old Bonds. There's a public hearing scheduled for that on July 17th. So let's see, what else? Strategic Planning Task Force. There was held a business summit at Cindy Ponchos on June 19th. I did not attend as it was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. There was some good feedback. I will provide that to you all when we get you our draft plan. And that's it. Oh, thank you for coming to the business summit. He's a member. Thank you for coming.
Parks and Rec has not met since, EMS has not met since. They meet on September 5th, I believe, is the next meeting. Region 15, the highlights are the region named a interim superintendent during the search. Ralph Iasagna, almost 50-year veteran, former superintendent for 14, 15 years in Trumbull, and a friend who knows him and actually speaks incredibly highly of him. I think he's a good good choice. And finally, the class of the Rochambeaus had graduation yesterday, and the Pomperaug High School class of 2018, including one Eli Rosen, will graduate tomorrow.
And I did forget to mention, we're on a positive note that HUD money, evidently, Rainey has called me. Supposedly HUD money is opening up. She was looking at that. Right. The question was, did I turn it down? I said, no, I'm certainly okay. And so we're still there. There was a survey done, there was stakes. What happened to the stakes? The stakes were driven in the ground, the metal stakes, so we can find them with a detector. So as we do the debris management, that's not going to have to be found again. So hopefully if that works, this project might move forward. So there's another little spark, a little puff of smoke, and maybe we'll fan the flames and see how we move on. So that's great.
Why did the HUD money suddenly become more available?
It's federal. I don't understand it. If you understand the federal government, let me know. I have a hard enough time understanding FEMA, but it's interesting.
Did you guys all get the senior services? Did you? I mean, the reason I gave abbreviated reports is I assumed you all got it, but I'm thinking that maybe you didn't get it.
I didn't get it till today, Jennifer.
Oh,
so I didn't
okay,
have a
okay.
chance to
That's
get
why
it.
I got it just because from yesterday's meeting,
Yeah.
so I.
They'll get it
sorry,
tomorrow.
abbreviated. But anyway, they'll get the report.
Right?
Sorry.
They can.
Any other business? Any other motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.